I'm really hoping that you've heard about the warnings with the 2026 election. Things like AI deepfakes or not giving oxygen to asshole fringe figures getting primetime platforms because the owners of the media platforming them agree with their weird, worrying, downright idiotic and out-of-touch views. And of course, those political parties straight up trying to lie to voters. It can feel overwhelming. But when it comes to how we tackle election misdirection, sometimes the best way to fight the big lies is to start by looking for the small mistakes. Media literacy, which feeds right into that critical thinking that Amanda Luxon reckons we don't have, well, it works on a spectrum. At one end is big flags, like, media outlets deliberately focusing on Winston Peters' Jen Taylor lines while downplaying and undermining the rest of his speech, where he targets minorities, stokes culture war topics, and dribbles about conspiracies. At the other end of the spectrum are little issues, like spelling mistakes. Picking up on those little issues, it trains us to pick up on the bigger ones when it comes to media literacy. It's not like it's the end of the world when National can't work out how to spell receive, or Tim van der Molen tells people that they'll start charging $50 a wee to fix the cost of living crisis. But how does it impact your trust in the promised education system changes to better focus on, in the words of the Prime Minister, doing the basics brilliantly, if the people that they hire to do their social media don't do it properly themselves? After all, in the last election, National spent hundreds of thousands on social media. Post-election, he was reported as having 7 social media staffers paid for by taxpayers. There should be proofreaders in that number somewhere and a hierarchy of checks and balances, and still those kind of mistakes get made. It's not like they're little content creators who don't have those resources and sometimes still make spelling mistakes based on a totally made-up scenario and not my own experience, honestly. Anyway, how much of a distraction a mildly amusing typo gives us when van der Molen is celebrating his targeted help when it really doesn't target 95% of the country and they feel it, is something that we should certainly be thinking about. Now, look, here's the secret, okay? People trying to manipulate you rely on you being too tired, distracted, or too ambivalent to notice the small things. If they can get you to overlook a typo, then they can get you to overlook a falsified statistic. Like this one that Paul Goldsmith published on Tuesday, which last week National had already been forced to admit was wrong from earlier social media posts when they made the exact same claims. If they can get you to accept a low-effort lie, you're primed for the high-definition AI disinformation that's coming this November. Being media literate doesn't mean that you have to be a tech genius. It just means being a skeptic. Demand quality. If the source looks sloppy, the truth inside it usually is too. So don't give your attention or your vote to anyone who treats the facts, and sometimes spelling, like they're optional. Watch the details. Because the details is where the truth lives, and where disinformation goes to die. Oh, hey there, podcast listeners. Thanks for checking out today's podcast, whether that's on video or audio. I really appreciate it. And I did finally get around to doing a podcast end tag, which I've been meaning to do for a while instead of just taking you onto the Facebook version. So while you're here, why not hit that subscribe button so that you can get updates coming in directly every time there's a new episode uploaded. Just seems like a really simple way to keep up to date with all of the crazy that's going on. So, yeah, give that a shot, and I'll talk to you soon.